I want to steer this conversation a little bit. I thought this was super important to talk about because we're kind of seeing it. I mean, it's always been around, and especially in Latin music, and we're seeing it a lot still. And it's in the black community, etc. Colorism, especially in the Latin music scene. There's just always been an issue when it comes to colorism, and that's not even the music scene. That's just everywhere.
That's
like
everywhere.
even in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, there's a whole perception of if you're lighter, you're better.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily push some of the dark-skinned artists. Like there's this artist out. I probably pronounce his name wrong. Is it Sech? It's like S-E-C-H?
Yeah,
Sech. He has one of the most popular Latin songs out right now. But if you notice, they've been pushing Rosalia. And Rosalia is not even Latin. She's from Spain. She's a Spaniard.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see a lot of these things, and I know, like I said, you're very big on unifying, and right now, like especially with that Latin music's being heavily pushed into the America, like what are your thoughts on that? And like, have you yourself encountered any sort of colorism things, whether it's someone commenting, saying like something about you or someone about someone else you know? Like, have you ever had to deal with that in this industry?
You know what's funny? I actually really haven't. Personally, I haven't on the color side of things, but I do see that a lot in my culture, a lot. I mean, and it's like that in almost every culture, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yep. Like my dad's a lot darker. My mom's like super light, and my dad's like super dark. And so I'm like somewhere in the middle. I'm like the coffee that they made. So my dad. I actually experienced a lot of colorism as a child, but not in the music industry for myself. I see it play out a lot because I feel like in a lot of cultures they view being lighter as more beautiful and just more exotic or whatever. And I couldn't disagree more because I don't think I've seen people who have as dark as night and they have some of the most beautiful features I've ever seen in my life. And I have no problem going up to people and be like, damn, you beautiful, or you fine, your skin is gorgeous. And like for me that's never been an issue. But I've experienced a lot of racism when I was a kid, to be honest.
Same. Mine's kind of the opposite. My brother and I are darker. My dad's black, and then my mom's Puerto Rican, but she's kind of like, she's a little bit lighter than your complexion. And even growing up, they were like, oh, are those your adopted kids? Or like anytime I was next to another black woman, they would always say that that's my mom. My mom's like, excuse me, my mom she's from Brooklyn, Bedside, Puerto Rican. She's like,
that's my child.
That's my child. So it's interesting. I didn't know that your dad was darker. And that even adds like a layer of even like complexity, because it's like when people see you, they may not expect that, and that's just the unfortunate thing, that people don't expect someone's parents to be some different color or shade or anything like that, and they don't understand that like us Latin women, just the Latin community, we come in all shapes and sizes. But it's just for some reason it doesn't process for people.
No, it doesn't. I'm like, well, what are we supposed to look like? Because we don't look the same. None of us. You could be Puerto Rican, like you really could be.
He's definitely Dominican. He'll be Dominican.
He's from the other side of Puerto
I have uncles. I have uncles and aunts darker than you
Tego Calderon
that are as black as night, and then I have uncles and aunts that have really light skin and blue eyes. So we are all like my grandfather had blue eyes, and he was lighter skinned, and my dad is like a little bit darker than you, and I remember my dad always tells this story, like so I'm the youngest of four, and I'm the only girl and the young. And so my brother right before me, he's like the lightest one out of all of us, and he's got like hazel eyes, and he had like blondish curly hair when he was younger. So one time, I guess there had been like lots of kidnappings in our neighborhood in the Bronx, and they stopped my dad, thinking that he kidnapped my brother, and they didn't believe that was his son.
Crazy.
Oh man.
And he was like, he had to prove that was his child, and that's like so whack. Like how could you, just because he looks different? Because my mom's really light skinned, so you don't know what the other half looks like. What if he was adopted? He still would have been my dad's son.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But stuff like that we would go through, and it's unfortunate. Like I remember like not getting invited to certain parties because I went to school also with like lots of different cultured kids, but especially like some of the white kids that I would go to school, like I wouldn't get invited to certain things because I was Latina. And so the mothers, not necessarily the kids, would like be influencing those decisions. And my mom would get into lots of fights with parents. She'd be like, wait a second, so you invited everyone else but my daughter because she's Hispanic, you know? And she would see the difference. I didn't really know. I would just feel like, dang, like, why didn't I get invited or something, you know? Wow. And I didn't understand until I was older, but I would feel everything, and it would be really hurtful. And my mom would have to sit down and explain certain things to me because she would be all the filtering for me. But so it's like unfortunate, you know, because that kind of stuff trickles down through generation. Yeah. It's learned behavior at the end of the day, you know?
So you have that. Yeah. Did you ever have moments where you were told that you're not Latin enough, you're not Puerto Rican enough?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I feel like a lot of, I didn't really hang out with like the Latin crew, because you know how like in every school, whether you're in college or high school, it's like, oh, you got the Dominicans, you got the Puerto Ricans, you got the black crew, you got the mixed crew, you got the, you know, I wasn't really a part of any clique. Actually, a lot of my friends were black, to be honest, because I felt, you stupid. No, it's true. I mean,
you're not even black.
But, and then,
hold on, Kyle isn't black?
Where are you from?
Wait, who's,
what are you? What are you?
What are you?
You're a fraud.
You're a fraud.
You're really Dominican?
Huh?
He's earthy. He's earthy. He's soil and shit.
Soil? Oh, God. That does not sound good.
He's soil. It's so horrible. I can't with you. No, but like, I never really stuck to a crew because I never, like the Spanish kids, like unless you spoke Spanish, they weren't trying to claim you. And I was just like, no, I don't really care to be one. I was like, man. That's always kind of been my attitude. I'm like, well, not with you. All right.
Best shrug / sound effect. Like, whatever. Well, there we go. Unique. Wait up.
Yo, for real. That's a whole mood right there. That's my childhood in a nutshell. Okay. Yeah, I just didn't really. I fit in wherever I fit in. I didn't hang out with just the Latin kids because they were like, oh, she white, you know, or she this or she that, and like I was like, well, I don't need that negative energy. I'm gonna go be friends with who I'm gonna be friends with, and I don't speak Spanish, so whatever, it's all cool. Like I did feel like actually working in the music industry has taught me that more than ever, is because, and my parents even say it to now that my parents are in the music industry, so I grew up in it because my dad started his own live production sound company. Oh, shit. And he's like the largest company on like the East Coast. Like, but he started it from nothing. My parents come from nothing. So dope. Like everything that they have, they built themselves. And my mom was a singer, and so they understand the Latin industry so well. And they were, one of their fears with me going into this side of things was that they were like, they're not going to accept you. We know how they are. Like, and my parents, because, you know, as parents in general, like, you always take the hit for your kids. So if someone insults them, you feel like you're insulted. Like, don't talk about my kid like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, I would, like, when I had, like, one of my first videos, when I did the song with Como, people thought that I was trying to be like Shakira. And I was like, no, first of all, Shakira's not the only person with curly hair in my culture. But I'll take the compliment. No, no, but I love her. Yeah, thank you. No, but my mom was like so affected by comments. And I was like, Mom, why are you tripping? First of all, like, I don't care. And she was like, but they're just not going to accept you. I was like, well, then let them say that until they can't say it anymore. And like, I kind of felt like, you know, I know that I'm going to go through a struggle. When you're the first or the second, or, you know, it takes a while to break through stuff like that, barriers like that. You know, it's not easy. And so I've experienced a lot of people having stuff to say, especially on the Latin side. People who didn't even want to represent me on teams or really, like, get what I was trying to do because they judged me silently.
Did it change a little bit? When you had Pitbull and Daddy Yankee that came were like, no, she's dope, I want to work with her? Did it change a little bit after that? Like, it got a little bit better?
You know what? That's a good question. Yes, I think in some aspects it did. Because people, I think, started just to fall in love with me and my talents and what I had to offer. And then there's some people who will always still hate no matter what you do. It don't matter if you have God himself on the track. Like, they will always find a reason.
Jam,
I know. Come on, God. Let's rock this. I'm going to come in like the mask.